Okay. Cool. All right. Thank you guys for coming. This is actually for me very exciting. This is our inaugural sort of happy hour giveaway. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. My name is Michael Pace. I am the founder of Social Good Fund. We are a 501c3 fiscal sponsor organization primarily. We do a number of different things. We also do some economic development work in Africa, Asia. We do some community development work, which we're actually doing right here. But we are primarily a fiscal sponsor organization. So I had a brief talk with some of you about that, but we work with projects, hundreds of projects all over the US, some internationally. And we are largely a virtual organization. And I've always wanted a place for folks to come do their work in a physical space, have a place where they can work, where they can teach, where they can train, where they could fundraise. So Social Good Place is meant to be a part of that vision. So I'm excited that this is a beginning crowd. Hopefully, as we do these month after month, word will build. So please feel free to spread the word, and we can actually get. It'd be nice to get a vibrant community going, where we can sort of learn from one another, inspire one another, be very creative with one another about things that we can do to enhance and better our communities. And that's what this event is about specifically. So. The idea here is we put out flyers asking people to apply, like, hey, bring your social innovation ideas. Like, what idea do you have to better your community? Whether you are somebody who just you had a dream and you're like caught in the grip of your passion and you want to do this thing, or you've been working on it for a while, we wanted to give you a little bit of seed money to get started with it. And so that's kind of the hope is we're going to award $1,000. Actually, I can say you all are going to award $1,000 to one of the 5 groups that are here today. And so I'm going to ask that you follow this ground rule as best as you can. So, in case you're here to support your people who are up here presenting tonight, we just want to be as fair, honest, open, and as objective as we can. So, yes, definitely cheer on the folks you're here to support, but please also listen with an open ear, open heart, open mind to the other folks who are presenting tonight. And if you are inspired, especially strongly by somebody who might not be the people who are here tonight, just be open to voting for them as well. So, with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jacqueline, who's going to tell you a little bit about the logistics.
Hello. I'm Jacqueline. I'm the director of operations here at Social Good Place. I'm so excited that this event is happening finally. This, like Michael said, has been something that we've been talking about as kind of a cornerstone event here at Social Good Place for a long time. So this is really exciting. A couple of logistics for tonight. We're going to go through these presentations one by one. They'll be 5 minutes each. You're going to have more time to talk to the presenters in the gathering hall, which is through the space I think some of you have already explored a little bit and know where that is. So we're going to be going in there. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions, engage with their information that they have in the gathering hall, and get more information to kind of help you make your decision for when we come back in here to vote. If you need a restroom, you're going to go the same way as you're going to go to the gathering hall, but keep going. There's signs, or you can go up any staircase, and there's 2 more restrooms upstairs. The restroom doors have a restroom sign on them. If there's not a restroom sign on it, it's not a restroom. Cool. Uh, there are a lot of closed doors and a lot of doors in the building in general. So if you get lost, just find one of us in a social good shirt and we will direct you where you need to be. When we go to the gathering hall to mix and mingle, ask questions, and engage with our presenters, you will have the opportunity to eat and drink. What I'm asking is that then when we come back into the auditorium, let's leave the food and drink in there because this floor is sloped. It gets a little, tricky. So, yeah, we'll come back in here, we'll vote, we'll award the winner, and we'll send you on your way. We don't want to keep you all night. So, those are the logistics of the evening, and we're really excited to get started.
Okay. All right. Sorry. So there'll have to be some adjusting of this microphone throughout the night. but we'll get started. And first up, we've got ground culture PDX, a bokashi ball cleanup. And so, bokashi ball cleanup. So, a little bit about them. They use food grade probiotics that can restore waterways and reduce pesticides and fertilizers. So, Ground Culture PDX aims to make enough bokashi balls in community with Portlanders to treat the Superfund site between Savi Island and the Broadway Bridge, as well as the toxic algae blooms by Ross Island. So, right on. So, please come on up.
All right. Thank you all for being here. My name is Cuauhtemoc Villa from Ground Culture, and I've been working with the unseen, the microorganisms. The we don't know and see these microorganisms unless we're eating them or drinking from them. But I'm going to tell you exactly how things like bread, wine, cheese can be used together to clean up some of the most toxic water that we have in the country right out between Broadway Bridge and Savi Island. Is called the Superfund site. It's extreme damage from all of the toxic industry, and nobody knows what to do about it. Well, me accidentally, by working in this kid's school garden, helping my kids in their school garden, I started to really learn how to utilize something called bokashi. It's Japanese for fermented organic matter. Using the power of fermentation to clean things up is something we don't know in this country because we don't use a lot of fermentation. We're just now barely starting to drink kombucha and kefir. But in other parts of the world where fermentation is utilized, we know that these concepts can be used not only to preserve foods for ourselves, but also the environment. The environment and ourselves are so closely connected. Most of these microorganisms I'm going to tell you about are already in or on your body. The first one I'm going to tell you about is lactic acid bacteria. We know that from pickling. Anytime we have a pickle in a brine, it's not spoiling. So it's a clean freak. It loves to keep things clean. It's low pH. So by using the lactic acid bacteria and using yeast that we know from beer, bread, and wine, yeast can break down organic matter quickly. So it's going to make things more available and cleaner on that watershed. And then the third thing, we know it from Swiss cheese. You know that big hole in the Swiss cheese? That's caused by a microbe converting sugars and causing a lot of gas, oxygen. And this microbe's called purple non-sulfur bacteria. Big name, but it's been on this planet a long time. And we know it because it lives in volcanoes. It can use heat as food source. It's phototrophic like a plant. So it can use sunlight as food. It's chemotrophic, which means the toxic compounds that plague our waterways, it uses that as food and it converts it back into amino acids, fulvic acids. So the fact that I can then take this culture and mix it with molasses, 1 part culture, 1 part molasses to 20 parts water, and then I can have the mother culture which then ferments for 2 weeks, and I can pass this thing out. And in there are these three microorganisms which have already been working on this planet a long time. So bokashi has been used all around the world to clean up tons of water, but it's only advanced with the help of the community. So when you type up bokashi ball, you're going to see we roll these things up all over the world, and it cleans up water quickly. Now, we can't wait for agency to clean the water that's been dirty for so long. But with tools that we have and simplicity to utilize these tools, it then becomes up to us. What is my level of participation? If all I got to do is ferment this little brew and then mix it with mud and roll it and throw it up into the water, who are we waiting for but yourself to get mud? So I want to be able to show you that cleaning water, environmental stuff, at least around the world when it's done successfully, it involves everybody and it has to be done simple, but it has to have terminology and linguistics that fit agency. So Bokashi does all of that. And not only that, it fits cultural representation. As they tried to discover Bokashi, Bayer hired Dr. Higa from Japan to look for the one microbe in the indigenous farmers out their soil so they can patent it, capture it and patent it. When Dr. Higa isolated the microbe and would look at it, it didn't perform the same as when it was in community. It failed. And he would throw out the test every time out the back door. On the last day, when he was feeling like a failure and was thinking of killing himself, he looked down on the ground on his way out And what he saw was the most beautiful grass ever growing. And he realized I was studying the microbes by themselves and they needed to be in community for them to do what they needed to do. So he took that back to the indigenous culture, something science never does, and they ran it and made it authentic. And it's now being a gift to the world. When I had it, I received it as a quart. I brewed it up to 5 gallons. Mine's over 20 years old now, and I still give it away. We just had a workshop today where we gave it away, because that's what's needed to clean the environment. So when you get a chance, I brought bokachi balls here. Please take one home with you. When you put that thing in the water, realize how many billions of beneficial microorganisms are in there. And think about how you can participate and when the last time you played in mud was. And when you start playing in mud again, you start smiling like you're doing now. So thank you so much.
You may not know it, but you just made history. That was the first presenter of what is soon to be the world recognized social good place event. All right. Right on. So next up, we have a rec workshop. It's a grassroots workshop series for practicing emotional skills, conflict navigation, and community repair based on transformative justice via improv games, small group discussion, and collaborative lecture style learning. So come on up.
I think this is going to be a struggle for everyone tonight. Just the up and down. I also have slides. Let's see how this works. There we go. Okay. All right. So I want to start off with saying thank you for coming. And in Portland, there is quite a lot of conflict. Um, I'm part of the queer community. I'm trans, and I see it all the time around me. Across all these different communities, we're kind of suffering. Um, there is large gaps between our communities in an intersectional way. You see it in gender identity, you see it in class, you see it in race, across the board. We are broken and we're feeling the effects of it. And our two options include to avoid or punish, or at least that's traditional, the approach, right? Both of those kind of lead to a fracture. It doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right. And what we're seeing is that the bigger picture here is that authoritarianism really thrives when we are divided. It doesn't let us stick together. It doesn't let us like hold community and build to a stronger future. Um, and that's ideally what I want to see in Portland. What I hope that everyone else wants to see in Portland. That we're together. Hi, I'm Jonah. Yeah, I run comms for Rec Workshop. It's like me and a couple of friends. We're a baby group, started 6 months ago, and I was the only one privileged enough to be here on a Saturday afternoon. Most of us work 9 to 5 jobs, but like during the day or like serving shifts or um, but I want to ask, what if conflict didn't tear us apart? And that's kind of where we're at for rec workshops, because conflict is inevitable, um, but how we handle it really is the difference. Rec is just an acronym for things that we really want to embody in our practice. Witness, re-educate, experience, communicate, and knowledge. It's like building these things together in different ways of learning. It's frameworks, it's spaces, it's practice, specifically designed to highlight transformative justice and to abolish carceral systems meant to split us apart. It's not group therapy. It's not like something anything formal. We're just neighbors, friends, facilitators, uh, using social games in practice in care and accountability and repair for everyone involved. What is transformative justice? Is the real question. Um, Really quick, it's about the root causes of what happens when conflict and like when things are bad. What is the root? We're seeing a lot of symptoms and like management and industry and like agencies across the board, like treating all these different things and scrambling. But there's roots here, and we can work to like uproot that and come up with a new solution, right? And this is the idea of also operating outside of the state solutions in a respectful way, which is to say we know our communities best. We know how to care for each other, and it's about building these practices to be like ready and able before we like ring the phone. Examples include, uh, ooh, shoot, like de-escalating an argument with strangers on the street. That's before you're calling the police. It's like, oh, okay, is there anything I can do in this moment right now? Especially if you know them. Um, it also includes like preventing someone from driving home drunk before they get in an accident. Um, and stepping in when your neighbors are fighting, especially if you know them, before calling domestic abuse hotlines or anything like that, because the last thing we want to do is have someone who doesn't know anything about the situation interviewing and like hurting, and just because they don't know. Um, it's about improving together without judgment and focusing on the roots that connects the issues, especially when you're building community together. But what does this actually look like? So far we have designed 2 workshops and are working on a lot more behind the scenes. We use free print material, play social games, and eat snacks to build bridges. There's a lot of them in Portland, and we want to keep that up, but in the emotional sense as well. Every session is free, like mandatorily free, like anyone can show up. With trauma-informed facilitators, which is also mandatory, um, uh, uh, and often co-facilitated across racial and intersectional lines to build those bridges. Um, So we are not fiscally sponsored by anyone. It is just me and my friends. So a lot of it goes to taxes. But the other $1,000, snacks, print materials, access needs, mutual aid, like for getting people who can't afford to get there to be there. But anyways, disagreement and division. Disagreement does not equal division, and we can kill, and build together. Thanks.
That was actually miraculously timed, like 5 minutes right on the dot. Amazing. All right. Next up, we've got Playback Theater PDX. So, Playback Theater is an interactive form of improvisational and applied theater using theater and dramatic techniques with the interaction of promoting growth, or the intention, sorry, of promoting growth, exploring avenues of change, and enhancing community discussion and awareness. Playback PDX does this through the stories gifted to us by their audience, and then are going to show us that tonight.
Hi, all. Thank you so much for being here. Like was shared, playback theater is an applied theater form, and that means that the intention of it is for social change, is for reaching out and engaging the community. So it's more than a performance; it's a dialogue between us and the audience, and whether it's spoken or unspoken, you're part of the conversation. The crux of what we do is stories, real life events and emotions, these crucial narratives that change, ignite, incite, connect, and soothe us as human beings. I'm going to turn it over to our conductor for the next part.
Thank you. This is Beth. This is Shane. They are actors tonight. This is Ron. He is a musician tonight. And I am Leslie. I am a conductor. I am going to try to convince, inspire some of you to tell me something about how you're feeling so that it can be acted out to make it more real. So just think about if I tell you that I came here today with NPR on my radio and I was feeling heavy and oh, or if you see it, let's watch. Thank you, actors. So I am wondering, is anyone else out there feeling kind of overwhelmed and exhausted and like, oh, yeah, I'm seeing heads nod. I'm seeing some. Is anyone also feeling anything else? Like we're here and I'm seeing all your faces, and that's bringing me some uplift. Who else is feeling a couple of different ways that feel contradictory, but they're still alive in you right now? Yeah. Would you tell me how you're feeling? Yep. Yeah. Well, actually, you. Yes, you are great. Thank you. You're hungry. Yeah. Yeah. Hungry for what? For food. Yeah. Is there anything else you're feeling right now at the same time? Just hungry. Yeah. Who is anyone else feeling hungry? Yeah. Well, the good news, there are snacks back there. Is anyone else feeling anything other than hungry or hungry for something other than food? Yeah. Excited. All right. So we've got hungry and excited. Let's see what this looks like as a pair. Let's watch. Thank you, actor. All right. So I know that all of you made a decision not so long ago because you came here. And I'm wondering, as you've arrived, like, how are you feeling before you got here? How are you feeling now? Is there someone who's got a couple of feelings? Inspired? Yeah. Anything else happening at the same time? Inspired and wonderment. Those feel really similar. Is there something else maybe a little heavier or at the same time? There's always bills, right? So just does that bring maybe stress, pressure? Okay. Let's see how those things interact together. So we've got inspired in this moment, and we've also got that stress and pressure from just the constant everyday. Yes. Let's watch. Thank you, actors. Beth is not only an actor today, but our creative director with a couple of closing words.
So you've seen just a little bit of what we do. And so imagine that in a larger sense for many different communities. And our aim with this grant would be to reach out to those communities that need to tell their stories, communities that are so often silenced, ignored, misinterpreted, um, misplaced. We want to offer free performances and workshops to trans and queer community, to the BIPOC community, to immigrant rights workers, and so many others. Specifically, the money here would fund space, would fund interpreters, marketing, and pay for our performers. Um, we we need story, nor more now than ever, especially while those in power are trying to silence us at a frightening rate. And we believe in the power of story, of witnessing that story, and of playback this form to bring understanding, joy, community, and change. That's it.
Excellent. I'm loving this. This is great. I am feeling inspired. Um, all right, we've got two more. And next up, we've got Mixed Messages, uh, a new affinity group by Black Affinity Group. Historically, people who are mixed race have been erased from society, denying them their full expression and identity. They often face similar racial traumas as their monoracial counterparts, but lack the community and support to process them. Mixed Messages aims to provide space and community to support biracial people in processing racial, cultural, and personal traumas.
Thank you all for coming. I came up with this idea because I worked at a school where we had different affinity groups and kids who were either half black, half white, or half Latinx and black. Like they felt like they could only show up as like a part of themselves in those affinity groups. But the black and white kids and the Latinx and Vietnamese mixed kids, I mean, we all share like that culture of being biracial. So I thought it was important. Oh, my name's Nicole. I'm the executive director. And then
I'm Dakota, they, them pronouns. I'm queer and trans, and I facilitate mixed messages.
and this is our video.
Yeah, this is our video. This is Mixed Messages brought to you by The Bag, the Black Affinity Group.
We have this book for sale, by the way.
According to a U.S. Census that was conducted back in 2020, there are over 33.8 million multiracial people in the United States. That's just over 10% of the population demographic for the U.S. Despite the sizable multiracial population, the lack of safe spaces for multiracial individuals reveals a deeper social and cultural barrier at play. In 1800, the US Census split people simply as white or black, labeling multiracial people as free colored or slaves. By 1850, mulatto emerged as a subcategory. Native Americans were first counted in 1860, while Chinese appeared in California only. Nationwide, Asian categories arrived late, Chinese in 1870 and Japanese in 1890. It wasn't until the 1960s that Asian immigration expanded, enabling recognition on the census. Let's jump to 2000. For the first time, individuals could select multiple races, though choices remain limited to 6 broad race groups that we still use today. But by 2020, the United States Census finally gave multiracial individuals the chance to identify with the race they feel most connected to, with vast choices for ethnic groups. This was an important step towards embracing the beautiful complexity of multiracial identities. The challenges multiracial people have faced extend far beyond the census, though. Our country's history is marked by systemic racism and the harsh legacy of the one-drop rule. The practice of hyperdescent, embedded into law and constitution, forced many multiracial individuals to be identified as a single race, often erasing the fullness of their identities. This deeply rooted system has continued to impact lives long after the Jim Crow era, leaving a lasting imprint on how race is perceived and recorded in America. As Dr. Annabelle Atkin observes, being multiracial is often complicated for people to understand. This is especially true in the United States, where the dominant white group has fought to establish and maintain a clear color line throughout history to justify the oppression of people of color. It is precisely this complexity and the challenges that come with it that inspired the creation of Mixed Messages. Our nonprofit is dedicated to giving multiracial individuals a trauma-informed and safe platform to share their stories, celebrate their identities, and challenge the simplistic narratives that history has imposed. We strive to foster understanding, community, and empowerment for those navigating the rich and often misunderstood landscape of the multiracial identity. All too often, we see children in schools forced to pick between what affinity group they should or shouldn't attend. Mixed Messages aims to strengthen resources for multiracial students in neighborhoods where there is little organizational or school support in place. We had 2 focus groups of multiracial people who went through self-identifying exercises and spoke about their multiracial experience in general. Here's what some of them had to say. This is what Adrian had to say. He identifies as a black man. He's half black and he's half white. His mom is Czech. I got lucky because my mom knew I would face challenges because I look like a black man. But many white moms don't do that for their kids. This is Saya. She identifies as Blaxican. She's Mexican and black. My dad didn't want me speaking Spanish. He wanted me to blend in. It was hard growing up trying to learn about my heritage without having someone to expose it to me. This is Gabriella. She's Afro Latina. She identifies as Puerto Rican and African American. My mom didn't know how to take care of my hair. It was really hard. Aquila, who identifies as Afro Indigenous, she's West African, Native American, Portuguese, and Irish. I had a lot of internalized anti Blackness growing up from my Native American mother. Understanding the unique challenges multiracial individuals face, Mixed Messages is committed to creating a safe, welcoming space where everyone can embrace their full authentic selves without compromise. We honor and celebrate all backgrounds, identities, and experiences with our LGBTQIA+ communities welcomed and respected as vital members of our multiracial family. Mixed Messages, for multiracial people, by multiracial people. Thank you.
And it touched in the video about what our intentions are, but our intentions are with the money is to provide mixed messages at K through 12 schools, especially K through 5, because it's definitely needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And we have our final group. We've got Jazz Pasado, an event by Hoy por Ti, Mañana para Nosotros. Sorry, I definitely need to bring my reading glasses next time. I'm now at that point where I used to be able to rely on whatever just minutia of youth I had left. It is quickly leaving, but here we are. Uh, Jazz Pasado is an upcoming event that is a celebration of music and culture, exploring the intersection between jazz and traditional regional Mexican genres such as corridos, mariachi, and more. This year, the series expands beyond performance by inviting local artists to create installations that reflect music as a form of resistance, highlighting its enduring role as both a cultural memory and a collective power. Come on up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karen,
My name is Seth.
and we are Hoy por Ti, Mañana para Nosotros. We began this collective out of a need for community and representation. But what is Latinx identity, and what does representation feel like? It feels like walking into a coffee shop and hearing your favorite Serena song playing. It feels like walking into a space that feels like an instant hug. You don't have to spend a long time on how to pronounce your name. You don't have to explain your complex and equally loving relationships with your immigrant parents. You just are. The thing about Latinx culture, though, is that we have the natural ability to nurture connection and community. A lot of times, this is done through food and making sure that you ate that day. Sometimes it's done through music and dancing. And other times it's done through discussing the dilemma of growing up in America, but being spiritually and emotionally tied to a whole other country. Seth and I spent a lot of time reflecting on this together, and we would daydream about what the tangible form of this space would look like. And if we did something, we wanted it to be authentic, intentional, and non performative as well. Fast forward to fall of 2023, we curated our first ever event. We ambitiously combined an open mic, an art exhibition, a live jazz performance by Sess, and a market featuring local Latinx small business owners. This was the beginning of creating a sustainable community in Portland. And every person that attended that night, including the artists, would be the glue to what we continue to do today. Jazz Pesado is really the sum of all the intention and spaces that we've created over the past 2 years. And it's a project, but more so a new genre that's rooted in culture, art, and community.
Okay, so the project Jazz Pasado. So I came up with Jazz Pasado because of my love for jazz and specifically improvisational style of music, as well as wanting to keep my roots alive, and that being corridos. And the word corrido directly translates to heavy, but in Mexican culture, corridos pesados means like being like a real tough guy. So that's a subgenre of corridos. So you may be wondering, so what is jazz pesado? And what do jazz and corridos even have in common? While they are two distinct genres, they have several commonalities, but the one that stood out the most to me was storytelling. Because of their historical context and just the genres being culturally and historically impacted by music, um, this is why just like the two of them, like that was the ground and the common thread for both of these. So who here likes jazz? Okay, and who here likes corridos? Okay, got a few hands. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so let's deep dive a little into the history. Jazz has deep blue roots. Jazz grew out of the experience of African American communities that provided a platform for their voices to be heard, shaping American popular culture and challenging racial barriers. While on the other side of the border, you had corridos, which were narrating the Mexican and the Mexican American community struggles from their own perspective, oftentimes celebrating local folk heroes and recounting injustices at the hands of those in power. So again, I come back to the common thread of both of these. Jazz and corridos both have a storytelling aspect that I feel is the most important for Jazz Pesado.
So, Volume 2 of Jazz Pesado aims to host set installations, photography, and other niche art forms by local Latinx creatives. These exhibitions will reflect the artist's cultural resilience along with Jazz Pesado. This can be an object from home that reminds them of a sense of belonging, a handmade piece of clothing that represents the artist through style and texture. But keeping in mind the unpredictability of jazz and the storytelling of corridos, there's truly no barriers to this exhibition. We also intend to include a band in town that is dedicated to keeping the tradition of corridos alive. And they're also a younger band that is a part of a resurging movement of traditional Mexican music. Um, Sorry, the timer distracted me. Regional Mexican music. Um, this honors our ultimate goal to continue to provide accessible platforms for artists that are practicing cultural resilience through their form of art expression. And just to wrap it up, in creating events like these, especially in a time like this, we take back ownership of our narrative as a culture, and also practice the ability to collectively heal by taking up space.
Yes, and one last thing. So constantly we see, especially right now, we're both kids of immigrants, and we're being like told constantly negative bias narratives are being pushed against our people. So we want to ask our community to help us tell the stories of who we actually are. And if you want to help us doing it with rhythm, respect, resilience, and revolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, maybe the last mic adjustment of the night. We'll see. All right. First of all, just a deep thank you and an offering of gratitude for everybody who's come up to speak tonight. You guys, each of you were excellent, and all all very worthy of the the prize tonight. So I'm actually really excited and curious to see where this is going to go. But I feel inspired. Hopefully, you've planted some seeds into the minds and hearts of folks who are here tonight. So, at the very least, I think we can all come away with something to motivate us as we move forward through these challenging days at the moment. All right, so we're going to break into the happy hour portion right now. So there's some food and wine and other beverages out in the other room. Now, I think even though we're going to shorten this up to maybe 30 minutes. So let's say at about 5:20, you've got about 30 minutes to talk to the presenters, talk amongst yourself, hang out, just get to know one another. Think about who you want to vote for. So we're going to go hang out, network, chat. Then we're going to come back in here. We're going to have a link to a form where you can vote on your smartphone. Hopefully, everybody's got one. There's QR codes on flyers. Hopefully, everybody has a flyer. So there you go. So you can link to the voting form with the QR code there once we're back in here. And then those will be tallied super fast. We'll announce the winner come up, say some words, whatever you have to say. There'll be some closing remarks, and then we can go home and know we did something pretty amazing tonight. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you over on the other room over there.